Welcome, friends of the Greasy Shop Rag. Today we're going to take a look at a Husqvarna 450 chainsaw. Customer complaint is that it's a brand new saw and it leaks. And it does. Chainsaws will leak oil. This one seems to be leaking a little bit more than it should. So I'm going to go through some steps that I've done quite a few times, and it seems to have fixed this problem. And along the way, we'll point out a couple other possible reasons why one of these saws might leak oil. So you can see this thing hasn't even been run. There's no sawdust in here at all. He bought it new. We made a test cut with it, cleaned it up, and he took it. Man, it's been sitting on the shelf leaking oil. And he decided that was more oil than it should be leaking. And here we are. So along the way, you'll see me cleaning things up. And that's because after I make this repair and I put oil back in it, I'm going to monitor it at least overnight and make sure that it's not, leaking and making a mess. And the best way to know that is if you start out with a clean, dry saw, right? And this being new is going to make life a lot easier than if this were a 10-year-old saw that was all scratched up and a big mess and whatever. So really the first step here is going to be to drain the oil out of it. And we're not going to save anything. We're just dumping the oil. Now, Husqvarna's owner's manual says basically it says this. If you don't like that your saw is leaking oil all over the place, then do this. Dump the oil out of it. I mean, that's their long-term storage answer to preventing oil leaks. Which makes sense. I mean, just the design of a chainsaw oil pump, even if everything's sealed the way it should be, oil can get through the pump and get around the either piston cylinder area or past the gears, depending on what kind of pump you have, and eventually leak. And where you store it can make a difference as well. Varying temperatures up and down can create pressure inside the oil tank that's going to help push that oil out any leaks it can find. So you'll see here I want to remove the clutch, but my clutch removal tool won't fit. This is the clutch removal tool, and what happens is the more you use it, because of this tapered design, these side pieces will bend out, and then you can't push it over the clutch. So I just put it in the vise and I squeezed this together a little bit, and now it fit in there just fine. If you need one of these, it's a 502-541-603 Husqvarna part number. So you can see we buzzed the clutch off. Remember, it's lefty-loosey. Oh, righty-tighty. So it's righty-loosey. I know what it is when I'm doing it, but when I'm saying it, I guess I'm tongue-tied. So we got the clutch off, we got the worm gear off, and now we're removing the chain guide plate. One screw holds it in place. This thing's in perfect shape. And you can see oil residue that's behind that guide plate. That would typically be a sign that maybe oil is leaking from, instead of this point here that we're going to glue at the hose, quite possibly the tank vent, which is right here, or the bar locating pins, or the bar stud. If those are loose, those things push right through the oil tank and out the side of the case. So if it's sloppy in there, it might be leaking oil. In that case, usually I would just seal. I'd push the stud out and seal them and push them back in. My first step here, though, is always to glue this oil hose to the case. That seems to fix 90% of my oil leak issues with this style saw. So that's what we're going to do first. If I have to go back and look at the tank vent or the studs, I'll do that. So right now, what I want is that hose to be clean. It can't have any oil residue on it, or the glue that I'm going to use won't stick, right? So now you see that I removed the oil tank cap. I found that if I don't remove that cap, there's enough pressure in that tank, or I'm not sure. I guess there'd have to be pressure there. That oil residue will keep kind of bubbling out of this hole that I'm trying to clean. So I use brake clean to try and dry it out and clean it. Use Q-tips to help scrub it up a little bit. And, I mean, it's got to be clean or all this is a wasted effort. If I were to blow in there and the cap was still on, you know, I'm blowing in and putting it under pressure.
0 line 1, please. 0 line 1.
And then that pressure would come back out that hole and it would drag oil residue with it. So that's why the cap is off of there. So this is just kind of a repeat process. Keep going at it. It might be one of the longer parts of this repair is actually the cleaning part. And you'll notice that this video doesn't have any cuts in it. It's about a 10-minute video. Nobody bothered me for them 10 minutes straight. It was like a miracle. So I was able to do the whole repair in one cut, and I left it that way so you could see actual time how long this takes. And because of that, you also see, you know, how long it actually takes. I'm going to mess around with cleaning things and gluing things that could have just been a quick edit otherwise. So this is super glue, crazy glue, I forget the chemical name for it. And I'm going to apply it to the rubber hose. I want to get it to the outside of the flange. I really don't want to get super glue inside the hose where it might plug up my oil pump or the inside of the hose, whatever. And I'm being careful about it. And I would have normally edited through some of this, but there you go. But when I was looking at this in editing, I thought, well, how super is that glue if my pick isn't sticking to it right now, right? Not like them commercials they used to have where they put some, well, they advertised Instant Bond anyway. I just remember a construction worker hanging from his hard hat off an I-beam. I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember that commercial, but anyway, super glue seems to work pretty good here. And this wasn't my idea. Years ago, I called Husky Tech and I asked them what was the best way to seal these things up. And the tech at that time kind of said off the record that this is how he does it. So I adopted his method and it's worked good for me. So now this chain guide plate, that's going to hold that hose in place. You know, we put the pump back in the hose, got it oriented the way it should be. And this will hold it in place. If you put the bar on here and cranked it down, that would also help hold that hose in place. But really all we're going to do is let this thing sit overnight, or sit long enough to dry. Then I'm going to put oil in it, let it sit overnight, and monitor it for leaks. If it's still leaking, then it wasn't the hose. And I can look at those bar studs or the tank vent, or even a crack in the case. I mean, that's possible. So right now we greased the inside of the worm gear where it rides on the crankshaft. I'm greasing the clutch drum bearing, putting a little on the crank, and assembling this, hoping that we won't be taking it back apart. But that's about as far as I'll go, is to put the clutch on it, because I don't, you know, if it is leaking, I would have to take the bar back off anyway. So that's all I'm going to have for you on the Husqvarna 450 chainsaw that came in with an oil leak, and we fixed it with some super glue. Thanks for watching. Later.